All right, we're back here. Welcome to Around the Crown. We're talking all things Sacramento Kings and beyond. If you're a Kings fan, smash up that like button down below. And if you enjoy fresh Kings content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Calvin and I are big Kings fans. We put out fresh...
We try to be anyway.
Yeah, we put out fresh Kings content almost daily for you guys to enjoy. And Kyle, you want to tell them about our little trip we're taking?
Yeah, we're planning on being 2 of the 10 people in attendance at upcoming Kings games here, February 8th and 9th. It'll be our first time at a live basketball game in over 2 years.
Yeah. So we'll be there at the game.
We are excited about that.
Yep.
Hopefully we get to see a couple of wins. It's our friend Matt's birthday, so we'll be there celebrating that as well. And we hope to be doing a live post-game show at a local bar in Sacramento after the game. So we'd love to see and meet anybody who's going to be in the area.
And come to the game. It's the 2 games back-to-back against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So get your tickets and come watch the game with us. We'll definitely have a beer with you up on the upper level, having fun. Hopefully they have that Proud Ale. I love the Proud Ale last time. That was good stuff. All right. Bryce wants to talk about the game now. He says, should have left Bagley in. Yeah, I agree with you, Bryce. We just got done talking about the game, and we are going to go over all this interesting Kings trade stuff. I don't even know how to classify it anymore. I hear all these different things. So for me, it was a whirlwind of emotions today. But before I dive into this, you want to remind everybody about All-Star voting?
Yeah, thankfully we only have a few days left, so we don't have to keep pushing this because I don't think we're seeing any Kings in the All-Star game. But All-Star voting is going until this Saturday, January 22nd. So, vote for all your other favorite players in the league.
And De'Aaron Fox and all your favorite Kings fans, whoever you feel like deserves to make the All-Star team. It's an individual award. It's not a team award. So it's okay to vote for some of your favorite Kings players. And, January 22nd, that's over. You can vote every single day. All right, let's jump here into the real topics here. We want to talk about Ben Simmons. We want to talk about De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Haliburton.
Never been more happy to talk about Ben Simmons.
All this stuff. It's a whirlwind of different news and emotions today. For me, it was a roller coaster. It was first, De'Aaron Fox might be traded. Then there's a package centered around Tyrese Haliburton sending him, Harrison Barnes, Buddy Hield, first-round picks to Philadelphia for Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, and the other guy who's making a ton of money, Tobias Harris. $39 million. That's crazy. He's making like $80 million over the next 2 seasons. Then that falls apart, and it's all of a sudden, nope, we're not trading De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Haliburton. We're going to build around these guys, and maybe everybody else is going to be traded. I don't know if that's where we're left at this point, but, some of this has got to be a smoke screen, right? Some of this has got to be hearsay and rumors and all this stuff. The infamous Vlade Divac told DeMarcus Cousins, I'm not trading you, like 2 days before he traded him. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Monty's that kind of guy, but we definitely got the rumor mills going today. That is for sure. Sham said Fox and Haliburton are staying. Sam Amick was talking about the Kings are pursuing Ben Simmons. He's their number 1 trade target, and if they cannot get him, they are going to go after Domantas Sabonis. Some huge news came out about Miles Turner having a stress fracture in his foot, so he's out for a little while. Bol Bol's having foot surgery. A lot of stuff. Which one you want to talk about first, Cal?
Well, real quickly before we talk about it, I just want to answer a question here in the chat from Trade Fox, Get Ben Simmons Now. He's asking about our live shows in February when we're going to be in Sacramento. We are hoping, we have a friend who works at the Coin Op on K Street. The last time we were in Sacramento, we were in there hanging out, and we did float around the idea of doing a show at the Coin Op after a game. So that is tentatively speaking the plan, but we will obviously let you guys know as it gets closer.
Shout out to Eric at Coin Op. If any of you guys go to the Coin Op, go check out Eric. He's an awesome bartender. And tell him you want Calvin and Barry and Royal Rebounds to do a live stream there. We're gonna hopefully schedule it in the next couple days here, and we'll let you guys know. We'd love to enjoy the game with you and enjoy a couple beers after the game as well.
Yes.
All right, so back to you, Cal.
Man, I don't really know where to start here. I'm disappointed about the Miles Turner injury because, I obviously had him really high on my wish list, and now it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I just don't know what this whole Ben Simmons thing is going to look like, because Tobias Harris is now a big wild card or a logjam in this whole thing for me. If it was already a difficult to see a deal getting done, especially when the Kings now, it's rumored that they're double downing on keeping Fox and Haliburton. Mm-hmm. You add Tobias Harris in there that the Sixers want to move. That, to me, means the Kings have to get a third team involved in this.
Yep.
And I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know how easy it's going to be to convince a third team that's not going to end up with Fox, Haliburton, or Simmons to be a part of this trade.
And when you're convincing a third team to take $80 million over the next 2 seasons for a guy who's got an injured shoulder at the moment, you got to give them something too, right? If it's draft picks or young players, something like that. So that'd be pretty interesting. Key King says, "Can somebody puke on the court again?" That happened. Is that last game for Luke Walton? That was his very last game, right? Puked on the court,
might have been,
and he got fired. That is hilarious. I love it. I love the puke guy. And every time I'm watching the games now on live TV, I'm like, oh, that's the puke seat. I'm not sitting in the puke seat. Not that I ever sit courtside, but I don't know if I'd sit in the puke seat. Would you sit in the puke seat? It's sanitized now. It's clean. It's probably not even the same chair.
I've never sat courtside before, so it would be, tough for me to turn that down.
Puke Walton. I love it. Puke Walton.
If they let me sit there for free, yeah, I'll do it for sure.
So, you know what? It's crazy that we just keep hearing about Sacramento and Ben Simmons, right? Like, it's just happening over and over. Normally, you'll hear a rumor, and it'll be really strong for a month or two, and then it'll kind of die out. But it's been a constant thing. It started in the offseason. It went through training camp. It's still persisting now as the Kings have this really strong interest in Ben Simmons. And, Sam Amick's pretty reliable source. If he says the Kings are interested in Ben Simmons, I believe they truly are. Now they're sticking with this stance. They want to keep Fox. They want to keep Tyrese. I agree with that. I've said in the past before that I would consider trading De'Aaron Fox if it improved the team. And it's not a knock on Fox at all, because I think he's a great player. And the only reason I would trade him is because he is a good player and has value, and we could potentially get other players to hopefully fill some of these other needs. But Fox is the best player on this team. Tyrese is the second best player on this team. They're both young. So if you were to build around those two players, I would be happy. But they need to do something. They need to move some of these other guys, and they need to figure it out. You and I have been huge fans of Miles Turner. Huge. A lot of people look at this injury as a negative thing because he's going to be out the next 6 to 8 weeks. It could be issues. It could potentially be a positive for Sacramento in the fact that maybe he's a little bit cheaper in a trade. And 2, not that I'm a tank supporter or anything like that, but this Kings team does not have a good record. If you were to trade for a guy like Miles Turner, he's probably not going to affect your wins this season. So you're going to end up with a decent draft pick, and then he'll be ready to come in fresh next season, and you can kind of rebuild around these 3 guys and whoever you draft.
Yeah, you're not going to have to try hard to convince me of that. I'm probably the biggest Miles Turner fan in the building. So, yeah, I agree with everything you said. Yeah, the upcoming schedule is brutal.
Yeah, I don't even want to look at it.
But what difference does it make?
Yeah,
honestly, right?
We just had the juiciest 3-game schedule in the league, and we went 1-2.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we got one of those games, honestly. with the way they've been playing lately. You have any thoughts on Bol Bol? I thought I saw another trade happen with him.
I did not see another trade happen with him, but yeah, I know. You're right. There is something going on with my shirt. I guess it doesn't work with the blue or the purple background here. They're saying my shirt is electric.
Oh, it's a special electric Kings jersey.
Yeah.
Is that the which
holographic?
One is that? Oh, that's the Peja.
The Peja. Because I'm still living back in the early 2000s when the Kings were good.
Okay, so Yahoo Sports, Bol Bol traded again by the Nuggets. I think it's a 3-team deal with the Celtics and the Spurs. So Bol Bol is moved to the Boston Celtics in a 3-team deal. Nuggets are sending PJ Dozier to Boston, and the Spurs receive Bryn Forbes.
Bryn Forbes.
Bryn Forbes. And the Celtics are sending forward Juan
Hernan-Gomez.
Yep, Hernan-Gomez to San Antonio. And the Spurs will also receive Denver's second-round pick in the 2028 draft. Wow, that seems so far away, but then all of a sudden we're going to be talking about it, and it's going to be like next year. The Kings 2028 draft. Here we go. So that's unfortunate there. I like Bol Bol a lot. He's getting surgery, but I still think he's a very, very valuable player. He doesn't get the playing time to showcase himself.
Yeah,
and,
I was just going to say, I hope he gets some more minutes.
It's crazy that you can have injury problems when you don't get the minutes.
Yeah, well, when you're that big,
and not having consistent time on the court too can throw your body off as well, right? Like if you are consistently playing, your body gets used to it. But if you're sitting on the bench for long stretches of time and then all of a sudden coach is like, get in the game, Bol, get in there.
Bol.
You know?
Bol. Yeah. I'm a Bol fan. So I hope he gets some more consistent minutes and stays healthy. And
so back to the Ben Simmons deal. I was watching the pregame show, and Morgan Reagan's on there. Shout out Morgan. And she was asking a question, and she said, well, you know, if Fox and Tyrese are off the table at this point, and the Kings are still interested in Ben Simmons, is there a potential way that the Kings could end up with Ben Simmons without giving up one of these two guys? Do you think that's possible?
I do, but again, it's going to require another team to either absorb salary or to include a player that Philadelphia deems more valuable than Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, and Marvin Bagley. Because while I do think that any of those three guys, Philadelphia, there are maybe some things to like individually about them, it's hard to, from Daryl Morey's perspective, it's hard for me to see trading Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons for these guys on the Kings who just haven't really been that impressive as of late.
I got the trade machine. I'm trying to figure out what salaries look like. They're probably going to want some draft picks. But, you know, look at a deal like this. If they're really trying to give up on Tobias Harris and they're trying to clear the salary, my thinking is we all know Daryl Morey is a huge James Harden fan. His goal is to get James Harden to this team. And I think he's probably been, you know, calling the Nets for probably months now saying, you want Ben Simmons? Give me James Harden. I'll give you Ben Simmons. And, you know, he has a player option at the end of this season, so James Harden could potentially opt out of his deal, and he could sign with Philadelphia. I think it would be, you know, tampering for them to have any conversations, and them I mean James Harden and Daryl Morey. But they've been together for so long. Daryl Morey was the one that first showed that he had confidence in James and brought him over from Oklahoma City. So I'm sure they have a pretty good relationship. And who knows, maybe Daryl said when he was leaving Houston, I'm going to go get you wherever I go. I'm going to come get you. So make sure you're ready. Maybe they have a deal like that. I don't know. But when I'm hearing all this talk about Tobias Harris being included in this deal, it seems like, okay, well, we're not going to get an all-star player for Ben Simmons. So we're going to dump salary, and we're going to sign our all-star in James Harden in the offseason.
It's a big gamble, but...
And he did it with Dwight Howard and James Harden in Houston. I remember a quote, I got the best center and the best shooting guard in the league. Why can't we win a title like Shaq and Kobe?
Yeah.
You got James Harden and Embiid. That's an interesting tandem together because Joel Embiid can do so much more than Dwight Howard can do. And, that's not a knock on Dwight Howard because at the time, Dwight was a great defensive player. He could do some things inside, but he's not a Joel Embiid. Embiid can do everything on the basketball court. And as long as he can stay healthy, him and James Harden would be an excellent tandem.
Yeah, I agree. They would be. I think De'Aaron Fox and Joel Embiid would be an excellent tandem. Not that I am advocating to trade Fox for Simmons or anything like that. You got the trade here up on the screen that a couple people are saying they like.
So if they're going to do a salary dump, does a deal like this push the needle? You got Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, Bagley, Tristan Thompson, and then you're probably going to throw a couple picks in here. This isn't a real win-win for Philadelphia. It could be if James Harden is in the bag.
It's all about the long term
for the offseason. Yeah. But I think this gives them solid guys to help compete the rest of this year. If Tobias Harris is potentially going to be out due to this shoulder injury, and obviously Ben Simmons has been a complete no-show for them. So you think, okay, well, Buddy Hield has his problems, but Philadelphia has been linked to him in the past, and they need shooting. Harrison Barnes is a good veteran. Marvin Bagley's a young guy with upside, and Tristan Thompson's another veteran that can go in there as well. This, in my opinion, these four guys helps this team a lot more this season, and I mean Philadelphia, than an injured Tobias Harris.
Yeah, I would have to think. I have no idea what types of offers there have been given for Ben Simmons or Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris together, but I have to believe that this has got to be one of the better deals Philadelphia is going to get at this point.
And Daryl Morey is a master.
Yeah, but from Philadelphia's perspective, you just want this to be over, don't you?
Yep.
Like you don't want the Ben Simmons cloud hanging over your head anymore. The team has definitely moved on without him.
Yep.
I think you ask anybody who plays for that team, they're probably like, who the hell is Ben Simmons? We don't care about that guy. This is our team. We are who we are. So, yeah, I mean, I think that at some point you got to just do this deal. Or do a deal like this.
You look at this deal, Tristan Thompson, expiring contract. So that's automatic $9.7 million off the books at the end of the season. You could rescind Bagley. That's another $11.3 million coming off the books right at the end of the season. Daryl Morey's a wizard. We know we could flip Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes to another team for a second-round pick, or maybe include a second-round pick of his own to dump them to another team if he were to get James Harden. If James Harden wasn't ready to come to the team, he could keep these guys and roll with them next year and still probably be better off than paying Ben Simmons to not play and having Tobias Harris for $40 million. So for me, I think this is a decent deal for Philadelphia. How do you feel about this deal for Sacramento? One thing we've been so focused on as far as Ben Simmons is, okay, well, if we're getting Ben Simmons, we're going to have to give up Fox or Tyrese. Now a potential opportunity is happening where maybe we don't have to give up those two guys. Yeah. We already talk about how those two guys both should be dominating the basketball.
Right.
You bring in another guy like Ben Simmons who should dominate the basketball and hasn't shown that he can shoot the ball. This makes the situation a little bit more complex on offense. It definitely helps them on the defensive end of the floor. But it makes them, multifaceted in a sense if they can make it all work between these three guys. But it also gives a lot more questions.
Yeah, you're right. I think it does give 100% lot more questions. And I just worry about it from the mental aspect of Ben Simmons. And I'm talking about his mental health issues aside. The guy has said he doesn't want to play power forward. That's probably what he's going to play on this team, especially if Fox and Haliburton are both in the backcourt. He's not a shooter. I love the idea of throwing him lobs all the time, but at the same time, his best skill is passing the ball. So
Yeah.
it is a really interesting dynamic.
Who knows? In this NBA, we could even have him play center. We see LeBron playing center, and yeah, it's crazy. And then you have Tobias Harris in there too, who I like, great offensive player. But then you have $80 million locked up to this guy for the next 2 seasons. That's a lot to take on for Sacramento. And Monty has said that he doesn't want to strap them for the future. He wants to have flexibility. But you're bringing in a combined almost $80 million a season just between these two guys.
Yeah. One thing I will say is, I don't think there will ever be a open court fast break duo like Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. But if I had to think of something that could kind of look a little bit like it, De'Aaron Fox and Ben Simmons would be pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see Ben Simmons as kind of like a James Worthy in the fast break, just playing above the rim, getting alley-oops. And you talked about it in the last podcast. There's different ways to stretch the floor. Some people stretch the floor from the three-point line. Some people stretch it vertically. We saw guys like Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan have a lot of success together in LA, and this was before Blake Griffin could shoot the three. Now he's a decent three-point shooter, but early on in the Clippers, he wasn't a good three-point shooter. DeAndre Jordan, horrible shooter, and you just had Chris Paul throwing lobs to those guys all day long.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And JN, you're right. Simmons and Haliburton would be nice too, but both of those guys are the facilitator, and Haliburton is nowhere near the finisher at the rim that De'Aaron Fox is. So I think with Fox's speed, his finishing ability, and Ben Simmons running the floor in the open court too, that is more deadly. Just the two of them together can blow through the entire defense. So,
and I like 3 guys that are good at passing the basketball. We talked tonight. 3 starters didn't have an assist tonight. Fox, Haliburton, Ben Simmons, the ball is going to be swinging around the court.
Hopefully.
I mean, that's the goal. If you choose the right coach for this team, and that's not going to be Doc Rivers if we get Ben Simmons, because I think that ship has sailed for them. But that's going to be another interesting question, right, is who's going to coach this team? But just as far as ceiling goes, they're not going to have a lot of other options to fill out this roster. Hopefully they can keep a guy like Rashawn Holmes, stuff like that. You're getting Tobias Harris. But what do you think a ceiling on this team is? If your core is Ben Simmons, Tyrese, and De'Aaron, what's a ceiling? What's a floor?
Yeah, I don't know. First of all, I am a big Tyrese Haliburton fan. When I analyze basketball, I try to look at what a player's individual best strengths are. So I'm just talking about what Ben Simmons and De'Aaron Fox could look like on the court together. I'm not saying anything negative about Tyrese Haliburton. That's just how I'm viewing the court, viewing the game with those guys out there. But that's the thing, there's so many, like you said, who's going to coach this team? What's Ben Simmons' attitude going to be like when he gets to Sacramento? Is he going to be willing to take on a role, that isn't maybe his first option, like playing one of the forward spots or whatever? Mm-hmm. Will the team get better on defense? Yes, Ben Simmons is a really good defender, but will it permeate throughout the rest of the team and make it a better overall team defense? What kind of style and scheme are they going to look to play with? I think the ceiling is pretty high. If Ben Simmons comes in with the right attitude, he's obviously capable of putting up near triple-double numbers. They could be a really exciting team in transition. If they can be better on defense, we're talking about a really, really solid team. Yeah. I mean, maybe they're not one of the top 4 teams in the West, but I think they'd obviously improve and jump over teams like San Antonio and Portland, and everybody else they leave in the dust at the bottom of the West. But
can Ben Simmons afford to come in with a bad attitude? Like, it seems like at this point,
well, that's my question.
He's got to come in with a good attitude.
Though.
The Kings haven't done
Why do you think he has to come in with a good attitude?
The Kings haven't done anything wrong to him. He said he wants to go to California. He obviously wants to be out of Philadelphia. And everything I'm hearing from Rich Paul and stuff is that all he wants to do is go to a team that wants him. and
Well,
a
yeah,
team
you
that
could be right.
and a
You could
team
be
that
right.
you know needs him. And that to me is Sacramento by definition. If you were to look across the entire NBA, and I know a lot of fans are mad at Fox and all this stuff, but if you were to look across the entire NBA, Kings fans have been some of the most patient fans in the entire league. We've taken in every single player that's come here, and we've just loved them unconditionally. Simmons would definitely be wanted in Sacramento, and I think the Kings have sent him that message by constantly being in the news for the last 6 months. How many times have we talked about it at nauseum where we're just Ben Simmons, Ben Simmons, Ben Simmons? Mm-hmm. It's obvious the Kings want Ben Simmons, and if they were to make a move for him, I don't think he could afford to come in with a bad attitude.
I agree with you in the aspect of, yes, he wants out of Philadelphia. It would be a breath of fresh air to go anywhere else. But I don't think that it's wrong to be hesitant or have questions about what attitude a guy will have going anywhere when we've seen how he handles himself in an organization that was really good. I mean, he went through all the trials and tribulations there, lost a lot of games, wasn't on the court for a long time because of injury. Then they finally got really good. They were on the doorstep of the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. And immediately he just flipped the switch. Like, screw the fan base, screw the coach. I'm done here. I don't want to play anymore. And now my head's not in the right space, and I just can't be here anymore.
I feel like it has to be more. I feel like there has to be something that we're not hearing about.
Maybe there is, but my whole point is that you can't. Obviously, we can't read his mind. We can't read his thoughts.
Yeah.
So for a guy that hasn't played, first and foremost, I've said it over and over and over again. If he was playing games this year and I could remember what it's like to see Ben Simmons look like Ben Simmons, then I would have a lot more relief, a lot better feeling about, okay, well, this is what he could help the team with. But when you just punt on everything because you don't like the way the fan base and the organization treated you, when you're an all-star and you're supposed to be one of the team's best players, and you also don't show he's one of the most talented, from a pure basketball standpoint, one of the most talented people in the world.
He won the genetic lottery.
But he hasn't taken his game to another level. And yes, I know he's made all-star teams. He's won the defensive, or he's been on the all-NBA, all-defensive team. He has a lot of individual accomplishments in the league. But we're talking about a guy that we could all view as one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league. And he just hasn't put in the work that he needs to in order to get his game to that level.
Yep. He's got the Kardashian curse. And come to Sacramento, we can cure that. We drafted a Kardashian.
Yeah. And I want to say this. I'm not, at this point, I'm not saying don't trade for Ben Simmons. He's one of the best players available that the Kings could possibly get. And when you can still keep your 2 best players potentially on top of that and add this guy, the Kings need to make a deal. They need to make a splash. We've talked about it so much that they need to take a chance, a risk to take this team to the next level and get out of this purgatory stage that they've been in for so long, where they're never, one of the 2 or 3 worst record teams in the league. They're always right on the fringe of the playoffs, and they just don't ever make any improvements. This is an opportunity to improve, not just a little, but by a lot.
Yeah, I think you and I have agreed from the start that we both think that Ben Simmons could have a positive impact on this team. It's just a matter of what you're giving up to get him. And I think not giving up De'Aaron Fox, not giving up Tyrese is basically a win for the Kings. I'd be interested to see what kind of picks Philadelphia would be wanting back. For me, I don't think I'd give up anything more than like a lottery-protected first-rounder this season, because I don't know how this is going to play out. Ben Simmons could not be ready. Tobias Harris could have surgery. We could be out with just De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese for almost the second half of the season. So I think I would need to at least keep that pick if we weren't to make the playoffs this season, which is very, very likely. But who knows? Maybe bringing in a guy like Ben Simmons can be an immediate boost to this team. But, coaching change midseason, a lot of personnel change, like a big deal like this really shakes up the entire roster. I don't think not that it doesn't give you anything to build off of, but it's a lot going on and a lot to adjust to in season.
Yeah, it is. But again,
but I would do this deal.
Something needs to happen.
I would do this deal.
Because otherwise you're just going to continue to have games like we saw tonight.
All right, I want to talk about another guy, really popular guy who I am a huge fan of, and that is John Collins, who apparently is very, very available. Everyone was trying to trade for him last season, and apparently the Hawks were balking at everybody. But now, apparently, he is very available. He just signed that new contract. So I saw a deal today by Sportsnod. It was Kings get John Collins, Hawks get Marvin Bagley, Terrence Davis, Mo Harkless, a Kings 2022 first-round draft pick, and the Hawks 2022 second-round draft pick from Sacramento, and another second-round pick in 2024.
It's another deal that I would be happy to see. I mean,
let's see here. Bagley, Terrence Davis.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about Domantas Sabonis. What's been reported is that if the Kings can't land Ben Simmons, that's the next target after that.
And I like Sabonis, but I think Calvin and I both like Miles Turner better. But I think either of them would help this Kings team. It's just a matter of what you're giving up.
I wouldn't be upset to get Sabonis. I wouldn't be upset to get John Collins. This is why I don't like talking about trades, because we'd want all of these guys. We want Jeremy Grant. We want so many players, and you just continue to spin your wheels, thinking about what's possible and whether or not a team will go for these deals. Jaylen Brown, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, until something actually gets done, I can't. That's when I'll actually sit down and evaluate if the Kings will be better, rather than just fantasizing and theoreticizing about who could be putting on a Kings jersey next.
Well, this is the potential trade offer that was floated. Would you say yes to this deal? Because I think I would.
The John Collins deal?
Yeah, that's including a first round and 2 second-round picks.
Yes, I would.
Okay. I think I would as well. All right, moving on here. Another thing that I saw in the news today, or just something I stumbled upon, is actually something I didn't know, which is pretty wild. But, Calvin, I want to know, did you know that the Sacramento Kings, the franchise, is the oldest in the entire NBA?
Yeah, not the Sacramento Kings franchise.
Not but the franchise in general.
The Sacramento Kings. Yes.
So they were started in 1923 as the Rochester Seagrams, just like the vodka. And then they changed their name to the Rochester Royals when they were sponsored by Crown Royal, ended up moving Kansas City, all that fun stuff, and landed in Sacramento. But that's just crazy to think about, that this is actually the oldest franchise in NBA. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, go us. I guess that's why we drink so much as Kings fans, because it's in our blood,
One ring. We got one ring, what was it, 60 years ago, and we're all good.
Yeah, Dennis, I think we all would have liked to keep the name Royals, but they changed the name to the Kings when they moved to Kansas City, because the baseball team in Kansas City is also called the Royals. So the
Royals moved there.
Yeah.
So they were there for a few years. They were the Kansas City
town
Royals.
Was too big for both Royals.
Yeah. And this is when baseball was really popular. Not that it's not now, but you could imagine in that time,
Yeah.
baseball was what America's sport and all these things, and basketball was kind of secondary. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know they were sponsored by Seagram's and Crown Royal. That's pretty cool.
There you go.
Goes to show you that the liquor business is thriving over the last 100 years. These companies are still in business.
It's
And
always been thriving.
they're really killing it.
They couldn't even close liquor stores when every place in the world was shut down over the past couple of years. So
We got to get some wins. I want to remind you all that are here, make sure you smash up that like button down below if you're a Kings fan, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Calvin and I do a live stream after every single Kings game. We also have a show called the Royal Report that comes out every Friday. It basically sums up an entire week of Kings action in about 30 minutes. So if you don't have time to watch all the games, all you got to do is watch the show on Fridays. Come say hi to us after the games. Hit us up in the chat. And as we said earlier in the show, we will be at Golden One Center February 8th and 9th for the back-to-back games against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'd love to see you and meet you all there. All right, Calvin, we ready to move on to the next section and talk about the Milwaukee Bucks?
oh man. Yeah, I guess we have to, right? Thanks to all you guys out in the chat there for all the support. We do have a lot of people watching tonight. Jan, appreciate the comment. Thank you guys for the support. Makes doing this a lot easier when you watch a game like tonight. I'll say that.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about your next week of basketball action for your Sacramento Kings.